$2 million can pay out $200,000 a year of income. In this episode, I'm going to address the question that you wouldn't believe how many times is asked: how to invest $2 million for retirement. Well, the answer is similar to how can I invest $1 million or $5 million or $20 million, or recently a billionaire asked me, how can I invest $400 million to have tax-free income? So get ready. I'm going to show you the power behind creating predictable rates of return that can give you 10% payouts tax-free for as long as you live. Hi, I'm Doug Andrew. I'm in my radio studio right now. I have broadcast a radio show every single week for the last 12 years. It's called Three-Dimensional Wealth Radio, and that is also the name of my YouTube channel, Three-Dimensional Wealth. See, three dimensions has to do with the financial dimension, where I've helped people for 46 plus years optimize their financial assets, minimize taxes, and not outlive their money in retirement. But also there's two other dimensions that have to do with the wisdom, the experiences you gain in life, and how to leave behind your heritage and how to fish instead of dumping fish to your kids' and grandkids' laps. And this is actually a concern for many people that have several $1 million because they don't want to ruin their children. So whenever people come to me and ask, golly, Doug, how to invest $2 million or $5 million or $10 million, a huge lump sum for retirement, usually I'm impressed because they have that much money, and it's not because they need that money to generate income, but they would like to have the ability, the option to be able to take income out and not deplete that nest egg. And so many times when I find out their goal and where the money came from, maybe a settlement, maybe the sale of a business, I have counseled many dentists who sold their dental practice for $2 million. Or one time I had a jewelry store owner that sold his jewelry stores for $2 million several years ago. It can be an electrician. A chiropractor did the same thing. Hey, I have a couple of $1 million. So what advice did I give all of these people when they asked the question? Well, first of all, I wanted to know, is this your main or sole source for income in retirement? Or is this sort of on top of what you already accumulated? Now, many times they'd say, oh no, this is like bonus money. I don't need the money right now, but I want it liquid and safe. That's pretty nice to have an extra couple of million that you really don't need, but I don't want them to lose that. They don't want to lose it either. That's why they came, because they know that I'm very passionate about preserving principle, safety of that principle. They don't want to lose this $2 million. Many people came across a lump sum like that from an inheritance, where they've been going along and they were responsible and accountable, and they saved 2, 3, 4, 5 million in their accounts, maybe IRAs and 401ks, but then all of a sudden they inherited 2 million or more. And they would come and say, golly, Doug, where can I invest this 2 million in retirement? So whether you need the money for income immediately or not, or whether you want to preserve it so if you did need it in your lifetime, or you want to pass it on to your children, you want to maximize what you leave behind, I know the answer where to put it, regardless of which of those goals you have for a lump sum like $2 million. You want to hear the answer? If the $2 million in this example is a lump sum, a windfall, or a settlement or something like that, an inheritance, and they tell me they don't need the money, I go, well, I could show you how to safely set aside that $2 million so it will double about every 7 years. Probably at the worst return I've ever achieved, it would double every 10 years. Does that sound pretty good? And they go, well, what rate of return is that? Well, rule of 72. If it doubles every 7.2 years, that's a 10% rate of return. Really? You can do that? And I said, well, I can't guarantee it, but I've averaged 10.07% for the last 25 years. by putting money into a max-funded, tax-advantaged, indexed universal life insurance contract if it's structured correctly, where you take the least amount of death benefit allowed under the IRS guidelines and you put in the most allowed, in this case, $2 million. So you're taking the least amount of insurance you can get away with. If you were 60 years old, the least amount of insurance to accommodate $2 million would be $5 million of insurance. If you're 70 years old, the least amount of insurance for $2 million might be just over $3 million. Because the objective isn't to get a bunch of insurance, it's to get the least amount of insurance the IRS will let you get away with and put in the most they will allow. In this case, the most would be $2 million in this example. That's called the GSP. It stands for Guideline Single Premium. Very few advisors understand this terminology. That's why it's critical you go to somebody who understands how to do what I'm talking about. So when you do that, then the money will grow very safely at internal rates of return of 7 to 10%, very predictable based upon some of the worst periods since the Great Depression, like 2000 to 2010. I averaged 7.23% just using indexing. By adding rebalancing, I was able to earn over 10%. So your money can double every 7 to 10 years. 2 million will grow to 4 million, to 8 million, to 16 million every 7 to 10 years. Now, if the person said, you know what, I want this $2 million to generate income for me within 5 years from now, I go, okay, great. So then I comply with a tax citation called TAMRA. TAMRA is an acronym that stands for the Technical and Miscellaneous Revenue Act of 1988. This is a strategy that we're the number one experts on this part of the tax code in America. We teach very savvy, sophisticated CPAs and tax attorneys about TEFRA, DEFRA, and TAMRA, and Sections 72E, 7702, and 101A of the Internal Revenue Code. This is where money inside of a properly structured insurance contract will accumulate tax-free and allow you to access or take tax-free income when you comply. TAMRA says you can throw in $2 million in one fell swoop into a maximum funded insurance contract, and it will grow tax deferred at those rates of return. But if you want tax-free income, that tells me, okay. So instead of maximizing what you leave behind, in other words, you put in $2 million and you don't need the money, and when you die, you want it to leave behind $5 million, you don't have to worry about TAMRA. You put in $2 million, and when you die, it leaves behind $5 million, and you can tap into income, but it would be taxable income. So if you wanted to maximize what you left behind and you put in $2 million, you don't have to worry about TAMRA. The minimum death benefit is $5 million. So when you die, you're leaving behind $5 million totally income tax-free. But if you want to preserve the right to have tax-free income, then you want to comply with TAMRA. That means $2 million would allow you to fund it in 4 years and 1 day with approximately 20% a year. What's 20% of $2 million? It's $400,000. So you create a plan to take $400,000 of the $2 million every year and put it into the insurance contract. The first day of the first year, you put in the first $400,000. The remaining $1,600,000, we find a place to temporarily keep it so that it's safe. And there, when we transfer the next $400,000 on the first day of the second year. You do that for 4 years and 1 day, and now you've got $400,000 in there 5 times. That's $2 million. Now, after 4 years and 1 day, $2 million can easily generate $200,000 a year of tax-free income because 10% payouts are extremely common with people that we've been helping for more than 45 years, especially with indexed universal life insurance contracts. So the concept here is if you want it to grow tax-free, it's the same answer. You just structure it maybe differently. If you want to maximize what you leave behind when you die, you don't have to worry about compliance with TAMRA. If you want to grandfather yourself to be able to tap into it totally income tax-free, you comply with TAMRA by funding it over 4 years and 1 day. But if you're wondering what to do with a lump sum like $2 million, I would make sure It is grandfathered to be tax-free, not only as it accumulates, but if you want income to be tax-free, you make sure it complies with TAMRA. If you want to maximize what you leave behind when you die, then you take more death benefit and you make sure that when you pass away based upon your life expectancy, that 2 million can leave behind 5, 6, or 7 million. So let me connect the dots by sharing an actual story with a client with you right now. After teaching a seminar, a gentleman who was age 70 and a half came to me and he had $500,000, which was a lot of money years ago, but this man had a net worth well in excess of $5 million. And I was talking about strategic rollouts where I tell people to get money out of your IRAs or 401ks over a 5-year period. And so 500,000 would mean that we would transfer 100,000 a year out of his IRAs each year for 5 years, and then he would have his 500,000 that could double every 7 to 10 years. And then a 500,000 could generate 50,000 a year of tax-free income. He said, Doug, I don't need this money, but I know I have to start withdrawing it. I'm going to be penalized 50% by the IRS. I will never be in a lower tax bracket. I want to pull out the whole 500,000 in one fell swoop. In a 40% bracket, he had done the math. I will pay 200,000 in tax. I want to take the net of 300,000 in one lump sum and maximize what I leave behind because I don't need the money. I don't need the income. He said, I could spend 4 times what I need to live on and never outlive my money. What a great blessing that was. So in that case, knowing that he did not need it for income, we took 300,000 and we didn't maximum fund a contract. I calculated his life expectancy and we were able to get 1.5 million of insurance. Sure enough, because of his health, he died in less than 10 years. The 300,000, which was only what it was worth after tax in his IRAs, left behind 1.5 million tax-free. Once he told me his goal, he wanted to maximize what he left behind. I could have taken his 300,000 and only had about 600,000 of insurance if he wanted income. He wanted to maximize what he left behind, so I didn't have to comply with TAMRA. And I got 1.5 million for his heirs, which they were grateful for, by taking the money out of his IRAs, which he already decided to do. 300,000 blossomed to $1.5 million about a year later, totally tax-free. You analyze what is it that is the greatest objective when you have a lump sum and taking all things into consideration. The best solution, the miracle solution in almost every case, is a maximum funded tax-advantaged insurance contract. So if you want to learn more about what that is and how it works and make sure that you structure one correctly with the right advisor that knows what they're doing, I would recommend you read this book. This is my 11th book. It's a bestseller. It retails for $20, but I want to gift one of these to you absolutely free. So to claim your free copy, go to laserfund.com, L-A-S-E-R fund.com. You simply pay $5.95 shipping and handling. I'll pay for the book, you pay for the shipping. You'll have options to get an audio version if you want. There's also video master classes. Once you get educated, I can point you to somebody who knows how to do it correctly if you would like. There's a chapter in this book that talks about all of the questions you should ask an advisor, and if they can't answer those questions, you'll know they don't understand how to do it correctly. Empower yourself. You will learn more by reading this book than 99% of financial advisors know about what I just talked about.